All right, so if you look right now, the link that I sent leads to this repo, and this is what we're going to go over. And first, we'll talk about what is Git. And so it's used to help manage, store, and merge things like your code, your files, images, and all that with other people as well. And if you want more from the Wikipedia definition, you can see that here too. And then GitHub is one of the most popular Git hosting sites. And then you have some other alternatives that are GitLab and Bitbucket. So this workshop is going to be to get you set up and running with some basic understanding and usage of Git with GitHub and using VS Code. And the setup instructions, if you weren't here last time, are here. Those should also be linked in the previous like PowerPoint slides and stuff. But I believe everybody was here last time, so we should be good. But let me know if you guys have any questions on that too. So we're going to be using VS Code, the GUI in VS Code to do all of the commands. But if you want to learn the CLI commands, those will be added later. We can go over those, but we just think that it's the easiest to do the GUI for now. And then just a little bit about this document is that it's a markdown file. And so this is the common format for how to convey information to other people on GitHub. And this will be what you can use for documentation, pull requests, issues, that kind of stuff. And then this is just a reminder again to like make sure you have VS Code, Hugo, and a GitHub account. So we will get started with setting up here. Okay, if you don't have Git installed already, if you're on a Windows computer, this is what you'll do. You'll open up PowerShell and run as admin. And then you'll click yes when you get that administrative prompt. And you're going to want to use this command. Because if you have a Mac, there's some instructions down here as well. But since you guys are Windows, we'll just stick to this real quick. And if you can, just give me a thumbs up when you guys got it, just so I don't move ahead. Awesome. And then, like I said, here's for Mac users. You can follow those instructions. And then to authorize yourself or authenticate yourself with GitHub through VS Code, we'll go through these steps real quick. So in VS Code, let's see, I'm going to try to open this up here. We have, okay, yeah. So in VS Code, if you go to View, you can see this command palette option. And this is where you'll have all of these commands that you can use. And you're going to type clone and then ensure that that's going to say clone from GitHub. And you'll have a pop-up that asks you if you want to allow it. And you'll hit allow. And then you'll select continue. And go ahead and log into GitHub. And it should ask you to authorize, and you'll select authorize GitHub. And then you'll be able to open it. And it might also say allow an extension to open this and say open. And something to note about when you are using this command palette, show you the keyboard shortcuts for some of these. But to open it in general, I think it's different for the Mac because it's got the command instead of control, but it's Control-Shift-P will open that as well, so you don't have to go through view. Just a quick shortcut for that. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the repo. Let me see if I can open this. Is it this one? Okay. So we're going to fork this repository. This way it'll be in your own repo that you can practice with. So if you look up here, you'll see this fork button, and you'll want to click that, and you should get this like loading screen that says it's forking the repo. That shouldn't take but more than like maybe 15 seconds for it to load. And then once you guys have that forked, just let me know that you're done, so I don't want to move ahead too quick. Okay. And then what we'll do here is we'll go to this green code button, and you're going to copy this link right here. We're going to go back to VS Code, and we can do Control-Shift-P, and we can do git clone, and make sure it says clone from GitHub, and you can click the clone from GitHub. Then you can paste the repo link in here, and then hit enter. And you'll select where you're going to save that. So I've got a folder for the demo. You'll select repository location. It'll load, and you can say open. It'll ask you if you just wanted to add it or open it, and you can go ahead and open it. And then you should see the folders that are in GitHub right now. Okay, and then in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see this little like circular arrows right here. If you click on that, it will let you know that this action will push and pull commits to and from origin main. So you can say okay. And then you should see a pop-up that asks about periodic fetching. I don't know if my screen is cut off here. Should be. Mine might not ask about that, I guess. But you should get that, and you can click yes. Okay. So now going to the next section, we're going to go ahead and add a file. So if you hover over this get intro, you can see this button right here, and we can go ahead and add a file, and we're just going to call it whatever you want. You can name it. I'm just going to call it the same thing for the demo so that it looks the same. But you'll name it, and you can hit enter, and then it automatically opens, and this is where you can edit it. So if you want to, let's see, what text did we add in here? Okay. My husband came up with this, so. Okay. And you'll notice that you get a little dot up here, so that means you haven't saved it yet. So if you want to save it, you can do Control S, you can do File Save, either way, and then the dot will go away, and you can know that you saved that. So if you notice, now that you've edited it, it'll have this like U, and this just means that there's like untracked changes. So where we'll see those is if we go over here to the source control panel, you can see that as well. And this will list all of your changes. So if you had a bunch of files that you're changing, it'll have the list of all of that. So what we want to do when we have a change is commit it. And so if you see this little plus sign right here, it's going to stage it. So if you click that, that U just changed to an A. And that means that the changes are staged. That means that we're adding something. So that hasn't been committed yet though. What we'll want to do is put a message in here. So we can say, my Y text, and hit Control Enter. And then you'll see that it goes away up here. But what you'll also notice is down here, now we have a little 1 next to that arrow. That means that we have something that hasn't been pushed yet. So it's been committed, but it's not pushed to GitHub yet. Okay, so a little bit about what we just did. Basically, you're committing the file so that Git will track your changes. And this is also going to allow others to access kind of those tracked changes. Let's see. Yeah, so another thing is that message where we said adding my Y text, you just want to make sure that that's as descriptive as you can be with the changes that you made, because that's how you'll keep track of what that change was. And that's how your teammates or other people that you're working with or people viewing your repo will be able to know like what that was for. And I like his note, your future self and teammates will thank you. Okay. Let's see. Oh, if you get an error pop-up, there's also this open git log button, and you can run these commands in the terminal. So this is just if you're not already fully authenticated with GitHub, it'll ask you again down here to do your email and username and stuff. Okay, so another thing to notice is that we can launch a new terminal by going up here where it has the shortcut as well. And so that's where you would enter these. So let's see. Now if we go back to, let's see, the commit message. I'm trying to make sure I didn't skip anything. Should be no more files. Okay, so now we are good to push. So we'll do that shortcut of Control-Shift-P, and we'll go down to Git push, hit enter. And that you'll see this little blue line kind of moving up top when it's loading. And you should see those changes in GitHub now. So if you go back to where you forked the repo, you should see that you've added that file. Let me see if I can pull up my. Okay, so you'll see under here, we've got, this is me, and then it says forked from the GWC UNCC. So this confirms that this was mine now. I'm not on the Girls Who Code one. So this is my forked repo, and I had put the file under the second folder, the 02. So if I look, well, let me refresh first. I can see right here, add in my Y text. And if you click on it, it'll also show you, it'll have green for adding and red for deleting things. So you can see what you did. And then you can also check that folder to make sure that that was there too. Okay, so that's pushing. Was everybody able to successfully push? Awesome. Okay, so as a note, it's important to commit often because you can always collapse like how many commits are made, but you can't undo or get back commits that you haven't made. So if you make a mistake or your computer dies, or with Windows, you get an unexpected update, it's always good to go ahead and commit. So even if it's a small change, because you don't have to push every time, you can, make a few commits and then just push. But it's just recommended as much as you can commit and push, especially if it's your own repo and you don't have to, like just keeping track of work that you've done. It really helps because you can always go back to previous versions. So that and just remembering the descriptive messages. Okay, so now we're going to go to number 3. Okay, so this is something, if you guys did the plugins that were mentioned in the setup doc, GitLens was one of those plugins. So if you go to VS Code and we look at that source control panel, you'll see a file history option that you can expand, and you can see your file changes. So then if I expand this, it'll show me over here the original state, and then the right side will be the current state. And anytime you add something, it's going to be on the right side because it'll be with the current state. Deleting something will show. So if we had text here and we delete that, it'll show over here. And I think that'll come also in the later section here. But just to note that if you have GitLens, you can see your file history right here as well. Okay, so we're going to practice adding multiple changes. So if we go back to these files here, let's push this a little bit. No, I can't close them. That's okay. Okay, so we are going to, I'm going to see what's in here so I don't change that. Okay, so just add some files, whatever you want to call them. I'll do it in this one now. I'll just say file 1. Put whatever you want in there. Remember to save it. Just add. And then I'm just going to go back to my Y text and delete some stuff. And add some stuff, just to show what that does as well. So if we've saved these, we can see now I have 3 right here on this source control for how many changes I've made. And you can see all of your different files. And so when you start having a bunch of changes, you don't want to go and individually have to add each of those. So what you can do is hover over this changes right here, and you can hit this plus sign to stage all of them at once. And then you can add another message. So it could just be like, Control Enter. And then just a reminder, if you want to go ahead and push, Control Shift P, get push. And then once that blue goes away, I can go back to GitHub and refresh. Oh, I need to go back to, okay. So I can see 26 seconds ago, and then this will tell me how many commits total, so 14. And these commits were copied from the original repo. So if you see all these extra ones, this was my husband helping to build the initial repo. And by the way, I forgot to introduce him. He's sitting here. I'm terrible at introducing people. This is Alex. Alex, say hi to everybody.
Hi, I'm a TA.
Yeah, he's here to help if we need it. So this is his username and commits to build this test repo. So those get copied over when I forked the repo, but these are my commits right here. So this is my most recent, and I can click on it and see, this will see or show me all of the files that I've changed. And now you can see the red for deleting or green. And if we go in VS Code and look at the file history, let's see if I can expand this. Or something to refresh. Okay, so now you can see under this next commit, the Y text file, this will show me what I deleted. It's kind of highlighted in a slightly different red here. And then the additions will be shown in green on the right. Okay. So if you made changes that didn't work out and you want to undo them, you can also do that. So we added some text to the original document, and then we removed a word or two. We saved it again, and then we saw that the document was showing green. I might have gone too fast on that, but you can see that the document, it does show green, even though we added a line. Okay, so it's green, sorry. Okay, so we see that that shows green. And then when we remove the text, then it gets blue. There's the blue. Ignore my grammar. So here's the blue. When we remove the text, the line changes to blue. Because we were adding and removing things. So the adding is normally green and the removing is red. And so we get blue when we've done both of those things. Okay. So then that also gives us an M next to the original document, because that is considered modifying instead of adding. So that's why when we staged those changes, they changed to A's, but then we had that M. Okay, and so we kind of talked about this, that the left is always the original state of the file and the right is the current state of the modified file. And just to reiterate, deletions will be on the left, additions will be on the right, because you can only show deletions from that original state. Okay, so if you want to undo changes, we can go back to this source control and okay, there we go. So we can hit this button right here to discard the changes. And it'll say, are you sure you want to do that? And then you'll say yes. So if you don't want to commit something, if you want to undo, that's how you'll do that with that little button right there. So branching is another topic that is going to be a little bit more in depth later, because it's like we're going to basically go over it briefly here, but it also involves issues and pull requests and other things that we'll cover all that kind of at the base level. And then we can have another workshop that goes a little bit more into that. But this is what we'll be using working as a team. So branching allows you to experiment with some code while keeping your main or master branch clean and in a working state. So it's also good to establish naming conventions for those branches. So we have conventions like saying feat / feature name and issue number, or for bugs, bug name, issue number. And then, so say like we were adding a chatbot, so we would name it what we're working on. And this helps say like what this branch is for before you even have to look at the code. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to add some stuff to these files. Okay, we'll save it. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and put this in the other one too. So we've got some changes here. Okay. So we're going to create a branch, and we can do that from Control-Shift-P. If you type in branch, it'll give you more options. That's why I wasn't seeing it. Okay, so we'll do git create branch, and then we can name our branch. So we could pretend we were creating a feature. So I'm going to say feat files, and then you'll have an issue number associated with that we'll go over in a minute. So we're just going to pretend that number is 1. We're going to hit enter. And then now if you look down here, you should see that your branch's name has changed to that new branch that you called it. So if you go to commit these files, it'll be in that branch. So let's go and we're going to stage all. And then we can say, normally I'd be more descriptive than this, but since they're just random files, I'm going to say adding files. We'll say Control Enter. We'll do Control-Shift-P, get push, enter. And then since it's the first time, it'll ask you this, and you will say yes. Okay, so we should have pushed to that new branch now. So if we go back to GitHub and let me go back here, refresh the page. Okay, so we're gonna see this little thing up here that shows our new branch and says had recent pushes 1 minute ago. So you'll see this compare and pull request, but don't push that yet. We're gonna go over that in just a second. First, I want to mention for issues. So making branches based on issues, essentially, the main things that you do those for, we have feat, how we had in our example here is short for feature. And so you use that when you're adding an enhancement to the repository, or if it's a bug and you're trying to fix something that is broken, then you would do that bug and bug name. So when somebody submits an issue to the repo for a feature or a bug, then it automatically gets an issue number. And then you create a feature or bug branch like we just did. So that feat and then name and issue number. And the issue number should match the submitted issue. So if somebody submits an issue and is like, or a feature issue that says like, I want a chatbot, and then that has an issue number, and you're going to say, okay, feat/chatbot/issue number that matches the issue that was submitted. And then there's some more info about that here if you guys want to check that out too. But the submitted issue, if somebody does that, that's where the detailed information is that you'll put of like what you're trying to make. So if somebody is describing the kind of chatbot they want to have or how they're going to do that or something like that. And then that issue would also be tied to a pull request. And that's something that we'll look at a little bit more in depth another time. But for now, we'll briefly go over that pull request. Okay, so we've got pull requests, and these are what allow your teammates time to look through your code that you are pushing and make sure you're following conventions, as well as they have the ability to make comments and suggestions on your pull requests. So if they see something that still needs fixing with your code, that's where they could comment on that as well. And that's how you determine if changes are still needed before it can merge with main. So main is the branch that you want to keep for basically your fully functioning, good to go code. So if somebody like tried to fix something, but it's actually not really working, or it's not going to merge well, or there's something wrong, then you don't want to merge that with main until that's addressed. So that's kind of the way to have like a second pair of eyes, you know, or just all of your teammates, like however that ends up working. Different teams collaborate differently, but essentially it's so you don't merge directly with main and break things. Okay, so you guys got this like compare and pull request. So if you click on that, it's going to tell you, okay, this is able to merge, and which branch you'll see right here says main that you're trying to merge to. And so you'll have your name right here, and you would usually be able to put a description and stuff. Oops. So the key here, though, is making sure that the pull request is going against your main repo and not the one that you forked from. Because sometimes when you do a pull request on a repo after you've forked that repo, it'll occasionally do a pull request against that original repo. So you just want to make sure that that's using your repo, which I don't think mine is. So I'm having that problem right now. You can look at this. Okay, so yeah, make sure that it says your user / the repo name. Okay, so that should be good. And then, so gosh, I keep clicking on that. Sorry, guys. So many clickable things in here. So normally this is where you would tie in an issue number. So if like there was an issue number associated with what you're submitting a pull request for, then you would put that in here. And there's some, so if you want to look at this, this actually has like the keywords that you can use that we won't go into too much now, but like close, fixed, resolved, that kind of stuff. And then you would put the issue number and it'll automatically link your pull request to that issue, which is pretty cool. But we won't go too into that right now. So we're just going to do create pull request. Okay. So then you get this that says if there's any conflicts, and then you can choose some different options, but we're just going to go ahead and merge. And you can make a note here if you want and confirm merge. And then it'll let you know that it successfully merged. So if I go to my repo now, we can see merge pull requests up here. And it should, let me see what changes I made in here. Should be able to see those. All right, so if there's no problems, like if you guys didn't run into any scary messages or merge conflicts, it looks like you should have everything successfully merged. And so that means that you guys have forked a repository, made changes, committed, pushed, pulled, created branches, switched branches, you can merge. So those are kind of the basic things that we'll be working with when you have a team on GitHub. And so if you guys have any questions on any part of that, just let me know. And you don't have to ask now. If you think of something later, just like reach out to me, and that's cool too. But this will be here for you guys to access as well. So you'll have all of these instructions and can click through. So I also will note that there might be something special in there if you guys read through the different files and stuff and kind of explore around and let us know if you find anything cool. That's all I'll tell you guys. But okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you, we've got about 10 minutes here, is now our website repo. So we've officially got a repo for the website, and I was going to add everybody by this meeting to their positions, but I realized the form that got flagged for whatever reason that was going to be for the Hugo themes, like voting on that, had where you were going to put your GitHub usernames in. So if you guys could do me a favor and drop your usernames in the chat, I am going to have to find a way to collect those, but I can go ahead and add everybody who's here today to the GitHub team. Awesome, thank you. And then you'll be able to go ahead and look through this. And I might actually, is it public right now? Yeah. Okay, so the repo is public right now, so you can read it. But I'll add you guys as team members as well. Awesome, thank you guys. Okay, so you can look through these and kind of just get a feel for what kind of files are in here and maybe look at stuff and start asking questions or whatever you want to do. And I will say there might be one or two interesting things in these files as well. So let me know if you find anything in there. And yeah, so this is going to be the new theme that we have so far. Let me see if I can. I'll show you guys. All right. So if we do, so now I have it open in here and you can see these. So the theme came with that example site. So how you guys saw like the demos for each of those themes or templates, it has the example site, and we've worked to like rearrange that a little bit to where we can basically work off of that example site now. So if we do server and then tap D, it's going to build it. And then we can do localhost and we can see the site. So now we are actually running it locally. So this is what is in GitHub right now. And if you want to, I believe they're able to fork that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys can, I know that we're not like editing it directly yet because we're kind of getting everybody acquainted with GitHub and all that. So if you want to fork that repo right now and play with stuff, you can test out, like see where this button color is and can you change that, or can you position things differently, change the main font on the site. You can play around with that and just see what you think and if you've got any questions on it. And let me give you guys, you should be able to access the repo by, since you could access the other one, you can just go one step back and see it. But I'm going to put the link here as well. But yeah, and we have our logos on here now. So we're getting all set up and we're going to have teams. We got the main web development team and how we talked about having admins, contributors, maintenance, like reviewers. This is basically documenters. So we'll be populating that with everybody soon. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. And I'll post these links again in Discord as well for everybody, but just know that you can access this walkthrough and like the setup document and anything at any time if you want to play around with stuff.